our city, once upon a time, had 6,000 community wells. 6,000 marked by the British. The Honorable President of India, Draupadi Murmuji, had come to inaugurate these step wells in the Rashtrapati Nilayam. We restore a project, make sure it's sustainable, even if it takes 2-3 years. Because these things have to last for the next 20 or 50 years. Even 1,000 square feet of rooftop can get you anywhere between 80,000 to more than a lakh, 1 lakh, 1,20,000 liters annually just from rainfall.
Welcome to Missed Calls from Earth, where conversations inspire conservation. Today we have Miss Kalpana Ramesh, the heart and soul behind the Rainwater Project. Let's welcome Miss Kalpana, who answered Earth's missed calls.
Today we have with us Miss Kalpana Ramesh, the heart behind the Rainwater Project. Let's welcome Kalpana Ramesh, who answered the Earth's missed calls. Good evening, Kalpana ma'am.
Hi.
Why do you call your company the Rainwater Project?
It's literally the Rainwater Project. I wanted to find an answer for all the rainwater that we are putting down the drains, and rainwater is basically the mother source for every other water source in the world. And we've decided to throw it into the drains. I said no. We need to rework how we look at rainwater and how we think about rainwater and how we should conserve our sources in the water ecosystem. There's something called source sustainability, and source sustainability happen if you look at and rainwater is not something you go to a river or go elsewhere and get it. It comes right to your doorstep. And we're not doing something right. So I said, the company has to be called the Rainwater Project, because after 10 years of working as an NGO, only broadcasting information, I was not able to change even 2% of people to drive action. Everyone listens and says, wow, that's good information. Yeah, we should do rainwater harvesting. But are you going back to your own homes or buildings and looking at rainwater harvesting? Well, that's not happening. Then I said, just broadcasting information is not what we need today. We need doers. We need to create an action on ground. That was the birth of the Rainwater Project. It's a social enterprise to protect our natural water ecosystems.
You have a background in design and architecture. What initially sparked your passion to restore water bodies and reviving natural ecosystems?
Well, finding an answer in our own home to not buying a tanker. We always wanted to build a tanker-free home because I don't trust the tanker water. So throwing that challenge to ourselves and finding a solution and making the house sustainable for water with just rainwater, made our home tanker free, and not just our home, the colony we live in. It's 100 100 villas colony. We don't buy tankers for the last 9 years. As a home, we don't buy tankers for the last 14, almost 15 years now.
Okay. Do you know about the Rain Man of Bengaluru who has lived without water connection for the last 28 years?
Yes. I know about Shiv Kumar. I've met him, spoken to him as well.
Yeah.
Right. But 2011, when we decided to not buy a tanker in our home, I didn't know what had to be done. But as an architect now, we always go back to our traditional wisdom. So I do remember that many Havelis in Jodhpur, Rajasthan, many places there, they have built the entire basement of these Havelis are sumps. Essentially rooms which hold water. It also cools the Haveli and also stores every drop of rainwater. So in our courtyard, we decided to do a 25,000 liter rainwater sump, simply to
Okay.
store rainwater. And I understood it's not rocket science. It only needed a coal and sand filter, and you can harvest the rainwater. Just this year, it's only 3 days of rainfall this year, and in 3 days of rainfall, our 25,000 liters sump has filled,
Wow.
and we have water. We have water for the next 1 month. So that's
Oh,
the power of rainwater. We underestimate the amount of rainfall and what that rainwater can do for us.
I think the main thing lies in the lack in architectural people at times. Our houses should be designed that they should be able to catch this water. If the basic
So
design comes into that, this problem won't happen.
I completely agree with you that of course we learn about sustainability, we learn about water conservation, we learn about plumbing and piping, we learn a lot of things in architecture. But when it comes to practice, we usually do only the mandatory pits that are, the rainwater pits which are mandate to be
Right.
done by municipal corporations. We just do that, but we don't look at water holistically. We don't look at all of the rainwater being saved. I mean, we don't look at zero discharge. A few
Right.
architects who think like this and the client is convinced, in those houses it does happen. But there's a very few of them that think like this, or think but cannot convince the client to take it forward. So there's multiple layers of challenges. You might
Right.
want to do everything sustainable in a home, but then that costs that little bit of additional money, and people are not prepared. People are prepared to put 1 crore, 2 crore rupees on doing interiors
Yes.
and your facade, but 2 3 lakhs for rainwater harvesting seems to be a waste of money.
That is where there needs to be a major change, a
Yep.
major shift.
That's where I said I'm not going to convince anyone, but I'm going to first do it in my own home. I understood the value of rainwater. I understood what is the potential of rainwater. I understood the volume of rainwater, which we often underestimate the amount of water that we get. And I
Right.
also decided that our house will not contribute to the urban flooding in the city. Our community will not contribute to the urban flooding in the city. Instead, we'll take down all this water and make our bores work 24/7 in summers. We will reuse every drop of rainwater in the colony. So, instantly we've started becoming sustainable. Like I said, last 9 years, we don't need a single common tanker in our colony,
Wow.
which is a very tanker prone area. We live in Gachibowli. Now, Gachibowli in Hyderabad, if you know, is a
Right.
central business district in Hyderabad.
How do you define the concept of source sustainability for our listeners?
Source sustainability is nothing but if you build anything on this planet, it can be a small house to an apartment to a commercial building or anything else. Earlier, it is just a piece of land. The
Right.
rainwater would naturally drain into that piece of land.
Right.
Now, when you start concreting it, right? So the source for the aquifers below the earth is was
Covered.
was the natural drainage of rainwater. Now, when you concrete it, you better make an intervention like right rainwater harvesting pits or a pond or just anything to take down this water beyond the concrete and take it down to the earth sensibly. Then you are sustaining that source, sustaining the water, the aquifers that carry water underground. And that's very important. We often don't understand, and we don't understand the water cycle, right? See, All of us have learned about water cycle in our grade 2 and grade 3
Right, right.
classes. But right now, we don't understand that water needs to go back into the ground as well. For you to
Right.
extract, we are only extracting. We are like every other thing that we keep on consuming.
Yeah.
We keep on consuming water. We think it's like an Akshaya Patra. It's just going to come
Keep on
forever
going.
and ever. No, yeah, it is. It is a finite resource, and we better make sure what we draw is also given back.
How do you do zero discharge in the properties and houses?
Absolutely, we can do this. Most of the rainwater, the kind of rainfall we get these days is huge. So 50 to 60% rainwater, if we use simple filters and take it into your sump, you can reuse
Right.
this water, and excess water from the sump, like an outflow from the sump, can be connected to recharge pits. Now, all of
Okay.
us have rooftops, all of us have pipes, rainwater pipes that bring the water down.
Right.
All we need to do is connect it with a filter. You get something called inline filter, which can be fitted in the pipe itself.
Right.
And then the pipe can be connected to your sump. Now all of us have sumps also. Now we built a exclusive rainwater harvesting sump, but you need not. You can use the same sump that you guys have. So
Right.
connect rooftop water with a filter to the sump, overflow from the sump, connect it to a recharge pit. Now this is a very doable exercise.
Okay. Okay. So how about the zero discharge? How does that happen?
Zero discharge is if you take down 50 to 60% water in your sump, you reuse, and the other 30 to 40% you put it in your recharge pit. So there is no drop of rainwater that is leaving your community or building or a home. So that's called zero discharge. There is no discharge of rainwater that is going outside your premises.
These days, the other problem is that the people, the society does not value the rainwater. They just let it drain.
That's because I don't think it's partly lack of awareness, but also that you don't understand this thing holistically. See, we don't save our rainwater. So in the summers, we are suffering a drought kind of a situation
Yes.
where your borewells don't have enough water, we are buying tankers. Secondly, you throw this rainwater into the onto the roads, and they mix
Yes.
with sewage, and you have sewage mixed rainwater, which is no good to recharge. It's not ethical to recharge rainwater with sewage. It's no good for us and no good for Mother Earth. So, what you're
Right.
doing with that rainwater that you throw, it essentially becomes urban flooding. Every city is flooding during the monsoons because the concretization has increased. Almost 90% of our cities are concreted. So, we
Right.
need to do rainwater harvesting at scale. We need to understand, or from a bird's eye view, that your rainwater is not naturally going into the ground, since we have most of our cities concreted. So we need to have rainwater harvesting interventions on the streets. We need to have rainwater harvesting within our buildings. Now, within our buildings, within our communities, within a corporate or commercial buildings, or any of this, is clean rainwater that you can reuse or recharge. The moment you let it out on the roads, then like I said,
Further
it's not
waste.
ethical to charge. It's just not. You just can't. And how many business hours we lose traveling in this? Whenever it rains, within 5 minutes the city is flooded and there's huge traffic everywhere. You're spending so many hours in traffic where you're supposed to, go and spend time with your family, or you're at work. How many business hours lost? And year after year, infrastructure losses. How many
Yes.
roads are getting relayed year after year? I'm saying, instead of putting crores on infrastructure losses, can we build rainwater harvesting pits? Can we make zero discharge communities? Can we bring a policy of zero discharge? That is one way to handle the floods.
Is that what your localized water solution to a growing city look like?
Absolutely. Now we have 1.4 crore people. Let's say
Right.
30, 40 lakh people do something right for rainwater harvesting. You will see a massive impact. Just imagine in a street, all of the buildings do not send the rainwater on their roads. Then only you have rainwater that's on the street. That can be handled easily. Of course, if it's a huge flood, then the answer to that is all your lakes have to be
Yes.
opened up, all your wells have to be opened up. You need large buckets of, which has huge storage capacities. And also, your rooftop is a tray that can hold huge amount of water. Now, even
Right.
1,000 square feet of rooftop can get you anywhere between 80,000 to more than a lakh, 1 lakh, 1,20,000 liters annually just from rainfall. Now it's good to
Interesting.
drink. We are drinking rainwater for the last 14 years. If you
Wow.
store rainwater and you take it, you don't even need an RO, you just need a UV filter. You need an UV filter and you can drink this water. Believe me, that's better than any bottled water you're drinking today.
Very true. Very true. Very true.
So
Okay.
if you
What?
put a cost to it, 1 rupee a liter,
Uh,
right? That means 1 lakh rupees. If you have 1,000 square feet rooftop, you're throwing it to the drains. You're throwing 1 lakh rupees every year to the drains.
yeah, if the people start understanding it with money, I think more people would start doing it.
And even the infrastructure losses, where do you think the government is getting? It's all your tax money. So what? How stupid are we? I mean, we are not smart. We don't understand this.
What does the Blue Hyderabad initiative involve?
Blue Hyderabad is nothing but bringing an attempt to bring people from different neighborhoods and creating these WhatsApp groups. There are about 15 Blue Hyderabad groups that we've created. Everyone that who wants to be a champion in those areas, we have added them there. They come up with solutions or we debate solutions or any inspirational stories and the work that we are doing, we spread it in those groups. And many of them get inspired, they ask further questions or deep dive into it and take it to their own communities and spread the word. So that's how, it's like a ripple effect, right? You keep talking to people, you keep showing these inspiring stories, you see how much water is getting saved. And people start thinking, oh, why not, it's this simple, so why should we not take it up and do? Or if anyone has a question, a technical question, they don't know what to do with what, we answer all those questions for them. So Blue Hyderabad is nothing but an answer to everything you want to know about rainwater harvesting, and also a platform to inspire a lot of people to go back and inspire more people and create action on ground. It's basically creating action on ground with more and more people who are inclined. There are a lot of people who are not interested, right? So I don't
Right.
want to waste my time with them. I want to actually first start building solutions for people who are interested, who really want to do. So
How
once
do you
they
get
do,
these
then
people
they can
aware
inspire
of
more people.
how do you get these people aware of what can be done and uh, how water conservation and sustainability?
First thing is I post what I do in my own home, what we do in our colony. Then as rainwater project, it's a social enterprise. Whatever we do as a rainwater project, I post. Whatever we do as an NGO, we post. And we also show the results. Because we never restore a project and then come out of it and then try to make it sustainable. No. We restore a project, make sure it's sustainable, even if it takes 2, 3 years.
Right,
Because these things have to last for the next 20 or 50 years.
right,
Many of the well restorations I see today, it's restored within 2 years, it's going back to garbage. So I wanted to find an answer to all such. What should we do so that these things don't last? Now, there are many campaigns we undertook where we asked rainwater harvesting pits to be cleaned, right? If you clean the pit, it'll work.
Right.
People don't clean the pits. So then instead of doing all those campaigns, I thought, why not bring innovative systems where you don't have to clean?
Okay.
Where you just have to look at cleaning your desilt traps. Your desilt
Right.
pits need to be cleaned. The rest of it, there are beautiful modular systems today where water can be sent into these modular systems and they recharge. 20,
Okay.
25 years, you don't need to even open it up. It's not a gravel sand based system. It has a geotextile wrapped, it's nothing but a container. But
Okay.
it comes in a flat pack and you can fix it, and you have this geotextile wrap. You can put it around your borewells. You dig around your borewell, you
Right.
place the geotextile and you use these modules. It becomes like a small tank. You can do 1000 liters or 2000 liters capacity. Then you wrap the geotextile, seal it up. But before you do that, in the casing pipe of your borewell, do slotting. Wherever you've
Okay.
done the slotting, you fix this tank and you get the input water from your rooftop. Let that water go through a silt trap. Now, all you need to do is clear that silt trap. Now, I suggest this borewell recharge only for rooftop water.
Okay.
Rooftop water you can reuse in your sump, and from there, overflow can be connected to your dead borewells or working borewells, even. And we can create that collection pit. It can be a cementing pit or it can be a modular pit. It doesn't need any cleaning for 20 years. You don't need to touch it, it keeps doing its job.
In
So
case
I
there
thought,
is
instead
no
of
borewell, then
doing, in case there is no borewell, also the modular system we wrapped in geotextile, you make sure water goes into it and water seeps out from the geotextile. It's like filtered water going into
right.
the ground. It will still keep doing recharge. If there's a borewell in the middle with slotting, water will enter the borewell also. But even if it didn't enter the borewell, water will start recharging.
Percolating. Okay.
Yes, yes.
And what is the cost of something like this for an average house?
See, typical pit will probably cost you somewhere from 15 to 20,000. This might cost a little more, right? Maybe a 20% more, 22,000 or 25,000 at the most. Almost the same price. I mean, 15-20% higher. But you don't have to, do this, remove all the gravel beds, wash them up, put them back. It's a recurring cost. Every year on each pit, you will be spending 1,500, 2,000 rupees for
Right.
labor, taking it up. And then you need people who are interested in cleaning. So
Right.
you don't have that kind of bandwidth in people today. So why not introduce these kind of modular rainwater harvesting systems,
No, this
which
sounds great.
anyone can Google, find out. And for the first time, I started bringing innovation to rainwater harvesting. Why should it be just doing rainwater, pit in the conventional way? There
Right.
is another
Right.
method where, without even doing a pit, there's this company called Urdhvam in Pune. They do another fantastic job with their innovators who found they send a sensor inside the casing pipe without disturbing the casing pipe. They're
Right.
not doing anything to the casing pipe of the boat. You send this instrument inside, and it finds where the geological layers are, where
Right.
the aquifer layers are, and it does a angular cut in the pipe from the inside so that water could seep in from these layers. So just by doing this, 40% recharge has improved into these borewells without even doing a pit, just in your own borewell casing pipe. Because what people do is, when we the maximum water is in the top aquifers, which what we
Right.
call the shallow aquifers. The shallow aquifer is nothing but a water conveying layer just below
Right.
the ground, right? Shallow aquifers carry a huge amount of water during the monsoons. But all our bore wells, till we hit the first rock layer, we've put a solid pipe. So there's no way for the shallow water to enter your bore wells.
A major part of your work has been heritage step wells, restoration of heritage step wells. What drew you to doing all that, reviving these step wells?
Basically, while doing rainwater harvesting and beginning to do lake restorations and understanding it, I also understood that we need, as a city, what should we do for to harvest rainwater?
Right.
We need to do a lot of rainwater harvesting pits, and we were campaigning and doing a lot of work around it. Then rainwater harvesting through lakes and all our surface water bodies. So we need to clean up the lakes and such. I also
Right.
found out that our city, once upon a time, had 6,000 community wells,
Wow.
6,000 marked by the British. It is in their maps, but most of them are built upon. So I also embarked on I was with a group which is the Hyderabad Design Forum. We were 12 architects and designers under Yashwant Ramamurthy sir, who set out to document the lost stepwells of Telangana. And it took almost 7 years of effort to find these stepwells in various districts and mandals across Telangana. And more than 320 stepwells. I myself have walked in and out of these stepwells. And every time I look at a well, it's literally filthy garbage. I mean, it could be a temple step well also. No one cared for it. No one looked at it as a water source anymore. Everyone is looking at the water source from a tap, or if you don't have water in a tap, call for the tanker. You're not even
Right.
looking at wells and lakes as your water resources while they are and they still work. You need to make sure that we undo these dirty lakes and wells. So, while doing lake conservation, I also understood wells are a very important and integral part of the water ecosystem, and we should also start reviving. While we were documenting, uh, the purpose was to document, but I said no, we should also start conserving, and I set out to restore step wells. We've done about, we were able to restore about 30 step wells so far
Okay.
successfully
Okay. Wow.
across Telangana. And one of our marquee projects, which is the Bansilal Pet step well
Bansilal Pet.
in
Yes.
in Secunderabad, is one of our marquee restorations, and it was completely a dump yard. We brought it back. We raised funds for the well, and we got government to give us a matching grant for transforming the space around the step well. That's what I understood by visiting various step wells across India, where it's getting restored, but the present development is not happening. There's no development around,
Right.
so it goes back to garbage. Community
Okay.
doesn't own it up. Community has to own it up in a certain way. Not the immediate community, but also the entire city needs to engage with these stepwells. So, we started looking at building a interpretation center. And also, it was my dream to create cultural hubs. I mean, that's how these stepwells were used long, long ago. And these stepwells
To make them
uh,
self-sustainable.
you know, needs a comeback. Needs a comeback. And while we create cultural hubs, the understanding is also to create income for these stepwells for their upkeep. So the Bansilalpet stepwell today earns for itself. No government or no NGO needs to,
Paper.
support this stepwell. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So everything becomes self-sustainable. There is a ticketed entry. Every cultural event is charged. So this well literally can earn about 4 to 5 lakh rupees a month. With branding events, photo shoots, there are multiple things that can happen with the stepwells, with heritage walks. At least 1,500 to 2,000 people visit the site weekly.
Okay.
So look at the potential of our heritage sites, and this is like water heritage, even more relevant, because water is very relevant even today. It's not like it was used then and we don't need water anymore. We very much need water, and it is very relevant today.
You had some initiative, save 10,000 boards, live the lakes.
These were initiatives, we led as Sahe NGO. Our NGO is called Sahi, which is Society for Advancement of Human Endeavor. While we run our annual TEDx Hyderabad, which is the city TEDx event, this is only one event a year, so we thought throughout the year we should also do some socially impacting work. That's
Right,
where we thought health, education, arts, and water. But water, I wanted to lead, the initiative for water. And when I started leading this initiative for water, these are two campaigns which were very successful. Save 10,000 bore wells, 10,000 dead bore wells. Use your dead bore wells to take
mm,
down water into the ground. And Live the Lakes is another initiative where literally, you live the lake, you start living the lake. You don't abandon it.
right.
You bring it back. It's very nice that I actually worked on a lake for almost 8 years. I didn't
Wow.
give up. There's huge amount of sewage coming in. I found a neighborhood solution. See, as a rainwater project, our enterprise's vision, as a founder, I thought it should also, you know, in a neighborhood, can we make water sustainable? Can we manage water right in a neighborhood? So all of the wastewater, can it be treated within our neighborhood and use our parks? Use the treated water in our parks. Use the treated water to fill our lakes along with rainwater. This is almost like a dream, and we somehow convinced the government, and we were able to make it happen in a neighborhood. So there's better management of rainwater, there's better management of wastewater, reduced urban flooding, more groundwater. So we wanted to create a water rich neighborhood or water rich block. And this block model can be replicated anywhere across the city, and this can be anywhere across India as well. So, what are the steps to take? How did we cover ground? How did we, what are the interventions we did? All of these we started working and started documenting. Well, we work across the city as well in
Mm.
every block that we have worked, but we are slowly mapping what is the work that we are doing, slowly documenting the work that we are doing, and how much water we are taking down. So I can very proudly say that we have covered more than 700 to 800 acres in the city for
Wow.
rainwater harvesting. We
How
made
did
them
it
go
feel when
zero
Modi ji
discharge.
mentioned you in Mann Ki Baat?
Oh, it was fabulous. I mean, talking about our project that we are doing, he mentioned about Pansilal Pit Stepwell in Man Ki Baat. It was beautiful. I mean, we are doing an initiative here in one corner of the city, and that being mentioned by Prime Minister himself. It's a huge win. I mean, after he mentioned, a lot of good happened. Means the government, local government, took it like a prestigious project, and sort of aligned with every idea that I presented, including the urban plan around the interpretation center and many things, utility revamping, pedestrianization. Literally, as an architect, as a designer, what all you want around a monument, and this was a heritage monument, very close to my heart. So literally everything we asked for happened. I think, thanks to Man Ki Baat, all of this started aligning. So I could see the impact of what happened post Man Ki Baat.
On Women's Day 2020, you were one of the 7 women given his social media handle. How did that go?
That
What
was
is the
another
message you shared with the people?
that was another surprise. Yeah, initially it was a bit nervous, but quickly I got onto it, and I started talking about rainwater harvesting and how we should, you know, create source sustainability, and literally everything on my mind. I mean, all the time I was talking about water conservation, and how easy it is if we all align, if each one of us think. It's collective action. Collectively, we have deteriorated the systems, but collectively we can pull it up. We
We
often
can
think
pull it up.
population is our weakness, but we can make it our strength. The sheer number of people, all of us, they decide to do something right, we can create a massive impact, and we don't need to import water from rivers anymore.
Right, right, right. There's enough water. You are also featured in the
Yes.
UN Women's Book of 75 Changemakers across India. How did
Yes.
that feel and how did that help?
Well, it was a fantastic boost to the work that we are doing at the grassroots level, and there are many, many hours. I used to feel it is a thankless job. The many, many hours that you keep on, because to get a permission letter, you have to run around offices for 6 months, chase people, follow up to create these unique strategies or
Mm.
templates of how to restore and also sustain. To create such templates, it takes a lot of hard work. I mean, it was not easy to convince the government to do a remote STP for our lake, and take the
Mm.
wastewater, sensibly treat it and give it back to the lake, and also give it back to the greenery around in the parks. So all of this, though it is a vision and aspiration, but to get the government to sort of align with us and to do work takes a lot of sweat equity. You have to work without a rupee on this. Literally your business hours goes in this, but the result is fabulous. I decided that I want to save all the 600 step wells, but I cannot do this alone. But I want to create 20 powerful templates for stepwell restorations, which will resonate across India. And that's exactly what happened. The Bansilal Pit stepwell
Mm.
resonated across India, not only across India, the Rashtrapati Bhavan resonated to it. And they invited us to restore 3 stepwells in the Rashtrapati Nilayam, which is the president's retreat in Hyderabad. That was another
Okay.
prestigious project where the Honorable President of India, Draupadi Murmuji, had come to inaugurate these stepwells in the Rashtrapati Nilayam. And she spent a good 10-15 minutes with us a couple of times during the project as well. Uh, it was a moment of pride. I mean, imagine the first citizen in the country is going to give this, knowledge or awareness to people to do rainwater harvesting and 3 wells. And even the Nilayam was buying tankers, and we made them tanker free. Is a very, very proud moment for us.
Even the Jal Shakti Ministry has recognized you as a water hero.
Yes, for the work we are doing, and we are also part of couple of Amrut 2.0 projects where we have, made 5 parks in the city resilient for water. There's enough water now. They don't buy tankers. As parks, they used to buy tankers, and we've done rainwater harvesting, and they don't need tankers anymore. It's such a wonderful thing to see, hear these results. And now it's peak summer, right? We literally visited the parks and understood how they are reusing the water, and whatever is harvested through the rainy season, how beautifully it has recharged the borewells, and they are taking care of the greenery, how it has reduced urban flooding around these parks. We talk about sponge cities, right? So all our parks, we can take down our rainwater through our parks. We can have multiple surface water bodies in a park, or we can do multiple smaller dug wells. We can do rainwater recharge pits, and it can take down a huge amount of water and reduce urban flooding around this.
Our podcast is called Missed Calls from Earth. What do you think is the most important missed call the humanity can answer right now to the Earth?
I think peace. Peace. We want peace on this planet, and we want to sustain all our natural resources. It's not enough that we enjoy these resources. What about our future generations? We
Right.
don't want to give a sad world in their hands. We literally, our parents also worked hard throughout their lives to create this one building called home. And if that home does not have water tomorrow, what are you giving in the hands of the future generations?
Exactly. Exactly.
You're telling them go and buy water while you can make the home sustainable. Our home is sustainable for the last 14 years. The next 20-25 years, it will be sustainable. Anyone who lives here will have abundant water. So why can't we create, while we look at interiors, while we look at the building facade, while we look at building these buildings, sustainability isn't it the first thing that should come to our minds and do it? So as an architect, we are always taught, as a designer, that we design for societies. First time I'm feeling that in the last 15 years of my work. I really feel that, I'm doing something for the societies, and I feel very accomplished as a designer from an architecture background.
How are you targeting the youth to get into this? You have something called Being Water course. How are you targeting the
Um,
youth, getting them involved?
One thing is, youth love, joining in cleanup activities, plantation activities. But I'm also trying to get them into building awareness in their own societies through Blue Hyderabad campaigns, and also getting all the youngsters to go and document or map these step wells across the state. We involved a couple of colleges to do these exercise, to go and not only map but document these step wells, get the exact locations, and do make drawings and understand the population capacity and how much water falls in those areas. And also involved a couple of colleges to understand a micro watershed in the city, gave them an area and asked them to understand how much of built rooftops do we have, how much rainwater comes in, how much municipal water is supplied in these areas,
Hmm.
how much tanker buying is happening. And to our shock, everywhere there's huge amount of water mismanagement. The students understood this by doing this exercise. It's not enough
Perfect.
always
Perfect.
campaigning or talking one on one. Get them on ground, get them to do the, understanding themselves. Then something resonates with them and they want to be change makers. And many of them have become change makers like this. And many of the youth even today, they follow our work, they try to see how they can replicate this work, maybe in their own village, take up a step well and restore it. There are a lot of youth reaching out to me these days and understanding that, some kids
Which is
from
excellent.
Kerala reached out, somebody from Bengal reached out, somebody from Rajasthan, somebody from Jodhpur, and we are always advising them what is the step one, what is the step two, what is the step three. And I always say, don't fear that there's no fund. Fund will come. You just, start, sort of begin and build a community around these step wells, build a community. And they may be not everyone might support initially, but soon you will build that,
You will have that support.
absolutely, it will.
How do you describe the current global water crisis in one word?
Um, I think I think we are not smart enough. We have to start managing the water. We need to become water secure. It's the most important thing. We should not be in a crisis. And most of our cities, there's enough water, and there is, we have a crisis situation simply because we've not managed it right. So
What
I don't see any city as a smart city. I don't know what is smart city. We really need to, evolve as smart citizens today.
what comes to your mind the minute it starts raining?
Or the first thing is how much water is going into our sump, how many days it's going to, sustain. This is literally, and this year I decided to post every time it rains, so how much water has gone into our sump and how many days it's going to keep us, keep the water going in our house.
What is your
So
favorite historical step
it's
well
like
in
the
India?
name.
Sorry. What is your favorite historical step well in India?
Of course, Rani Ki Vav, and but my Bansilal Pet is my baby. Bansilal Pet Stepwell. So much hard work and all my blood and sweat in that project. So it's one of my favorites.
When we say concrete or mud, which one will you choose?
Mud any day.
Name the city in the world that you think manages its water beautifully.
Sorry, you froze. Can you repeat that
Name the
question?
city in the world which you think manages its water beautifully.
A city that manages water right.
Yes, beautifully.
The first thing that comes to me is not just a city, a country. I mean, Singapore. Look at
Singapore.
Singapore.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, do you know I lived in Singapore for a couple of years?
Hmm.
I've seen them buy water from Malaysia, and I used to think this was back in 1997 to 1999 when we were in Singapore. I used to think, how come an entire country survives by buying water from Malaysia? I used to wonder, but true to that, after we moved back to India in 2000, I was following the news, and I saw that there was some unrest, political unrest between Malaysia and Singapore, and they cut off the water. That's when Singapore opened its eyes and started doing everything sustainable. They really went the length and breadth and have done things, solid waste management to water conservation. Just amazing what they've done. I think they're like single beautiful example across the world.
If you were not into restoring water bodies, what profession would you have been in?
I would have continued. I love designing, so I would have continued interior designing. I would have continued furniture design or doing sustainable homes. I love nature and sustainable homes. I would have continued doing this. Maybe I would have, also started. I love organic growing, so I would have, also done a bit of growing. I love traveling a lot. Traveling, I just simply love traveling. I mean, I guess for any designer or an architect, I mean, you just need to travel every few months. It just brings another sense in your head.
Okay. What's your favorite natural sound? A flowing river, a heavy rainstorm, or ocean waves, or something else?
I think waves by the oceans. I mean, it's just sitting by the sea. I mean, how calming. And now, even sitting by my lake, hearing water just trickling down a pipe. Anything, just the sound of water. Just the sound of water. But the waves repetitive, and the sound is very, very calming, I feel.
What do you think the future of urban design is?
I think the future of urban design is into integrating all our traditional water systems, understanding it's not just building concrete, but also how to make these buildings, these concrete, in this land of concrete, how to create source sustainability. I think urban planning is about bridging the past and the future. If such a plan can be made for every city, I think that will be a dream city or a dream planet, I would say.
If a house is already built, how do we work with rainwater harvesting in that?
So
Or grey water?
any house that is built, you do have a rooftop, right? And from the rooftop, there is a pipe that is taking down the rainwater. In
Right.
that pipe, you can create you can fix an inline
Inline
filter,
filter.
which is available on Amazon. It can be fixed with any of the local plumbers. And once it is fixed, the water can be connected to your own sumps. Sumps, again, storage systems, we don't have to build new ones. You already have sumps. And the overflow from this sump, so 50-60% of rainwater is reused. Overflow from the sump can be connected to recharge pit around your bore wells. So that's it. I mean, if you don't have a bore well, you just connect it to maybe a water body nearby, or make a pit outside your compound and take it down into the ground. Very, very simple to do this, and any built structure can do this.
Any other
And
question,
and
Vidya?
every day you're using groundwater. You are
Yes,
touching groundwater every day.
you need to
That
recharge it.
means you don't have a choice. You better do rainwater harvesting. You don't have a choice. This is not a debate that can I do or not do. If you draw groundwater every day, you better do rainwater harvesting. In your lifetime, how much of a water you've drawn from the ground, can you put that back into your ground? Can
Right,
that be your goal?
right. Lovely speaking to you, Kalpana ma'am. Thanks for joining us today. It was a great meeting, and all the best for
Thank
your
you.
endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinci.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Bye-bye. And thank you all the rest of the family for helping putting this together for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Water doesn't shout, it slips away silently. If today's conversation made you think, don't stop here. Start small, act consciously, and respect every single drop. Like she said, if you draw water from the ground, you better recharge whatever you have drawn from it. Until next time, don't ignore Earth's missed calls.